Today is Simchat Torah, and first thing we need to do is take a scroll of Torah. As you know, the tradition on Simchat Torah is that we read from the very end and then from the beginning, and usually we take two scrolls to do that. Today, we're going to take only one scroll because, thank God and technology, we can read from many parts of Torah even without that scroll. And let us all please rise so we take our scroll here before we continue with Torah. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omen. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omen. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. If you were standing, please sit down. And before we continue with reading of Torah, I wanted to share a story that is a very simple story, very popular. I hope you heard it before, but it's very significant, and it's about Torah, of course. And the story goes back to 1st century, and in Israel, at the time, Israel was just a Roman province. And a Roman, not Jewish, one day sees that there is a man named Rabbi Shammai. And the Roman goes to this Rabbi Shammai, knocks at the door and says, Rabbi Shammai, please teach me the whole Torah. However, while I'm standing on one foot, you couldn't see there, but I'm standing on one foot to see how long that is. And for most of us, that's a few seconds maybe, half a minute maybe. So this is what the Roman says. Teach me Torah, I have a few seconds for you. Rabbi Shammai felt offended. What kind of attitude is this? He took his cane that was there and just pushed this guy away, say, get out of here. The story, which is in the Talmud, tells us that this Roman then went and found another rabbi, and this time was Rabbi Hillel. And he said, Rabbi Hillel, teach me the whole Torah. However, while I'm standing on one foot, that's the much time I have for you. And Rabbi Hillel very quickly said to him, what you don't like being done to you, don't do it to others. That was it. And for what the story tells us, we can tell that this Roman actually liked it and appreciated it. And actually the Roman apparently indicated to Rabbi Hillel that, oh, I accept that, I can do that, that's good enough for me. So Rabbi Hillel, according to the Talmud, said to him two more things. One is, he converted him, basically saying, all right, so you're now part of the team, you're part of the Torah team, you're one of us, welcome. And the next thing he said is, now go and learn and study. And I love this story for many reasons, but I think because exemplifies two things that are essential about Torah and about what Torah means to us. And the one thing is that Torah for us doesn't mean memorizing pages and pages and following countless rituals. Sure, those are in Torah. But really the essence of Torah, that it only takes a few seconds on one foot, is just treat others the way you want to be treated. Just treat others with empathy. Want for others to enjoy the good things you like to enjoy for yourself and your children. Don't let others suffer things that you wouldn't like to suffer yourself. That's it. So according to Hillel, that's a matter of attitude and commitment. You don't need to know 30 chapters in Genesis and 34 chapters in Deuteronomy and all that. All you need to be part of the Torah team is, can you commit to this? Do you accept this basic principle that this is how you're going to behave? And if the answer is yes, then we count you among those who are followers of Torah and supporters of Torah. But then, of course, I think the story of Hillel also captures another important part, which is, it's not enough just to say, I'll be a nice person. How? And when? And where? It is more complicated. How can I be a nice person when I live in a place with plenty of conflict? How can I be a nice person and help others when we live in a big country with lots of issues that are very complicated? Well, this is why we need to learn. And learning Torah and Talmud Torah and all that we do is, in a way, very simple. How do we live that life of empathy to everyone? But it's complicated because it takes lots of learning and studying and practices and traditions and community and organization to be able to actually accomplish that. But what I love is how for Rabbi Shammai, 30 seconds for Torah, that's get out of here. That's not enough. On that same person, Rabbi Hillel saw something very different. He saw, hey, this guy for the second time is devoting 30 seconds for Torah. Well, I wish he devoted an hour, but let me not look at what's missing. Let me look at what's there. This is a person that is interested in coming and learning. Good enough for me. Welcome. That's your first step. So, Jewish community, our Torah, we will be singing this probably twice today. We say Torah is a tree of life to those who hold it. It doesn't say Torah is a tree of life to the Jews. Torah is a tree of life to the Israelites, to whoever holds it. And thankfully, over many, many generations, there's many of us who hold Torah. And many of us who started, maybe just like that Roman, embracing one principle, and then hopefully a lifetime of learning. So we're going to see now, this is a beautiful video, and in Simchat Torah we dance and celebrate Torah. Obviously we can dance and celebrate Torah now on Zoom, but we can actually share the joy of Torah the way it's been celebrated in places that we would not think or know or be aware of all over the world, how Torah is being embraced. So this is a short video. Let's enjoy it.
Baruch Adonai Hamivorach. Baruch Adonai Hamivorach Vaed. Baruch Adonai Hamivorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Bonu Mikol Ha'amim Venatan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
So this is just a little short view on how Torah is celebrated in so many different communities, and we're all part of that community of Torah, of empathy for others, and our commitment to learn. What a beautiful summary of what it means to be Jewish. I love it, and I thank Rabbi Hillel for that. And you can use it, by the way. Somebody asks you, like sometimes it happens to us here, so Judaism, so what do you believe and what it is about? Well, there you go. Rabbi Hillel has the answer for you in 20 seconds. So let me know how it goes. And we're now going to read Torah. On Simchat Torah, we celebrate that we begin to read Torah and end to read Torah, and when we end, we start all over again. And tradition is that we read the last few verses and the first verses. And today, since we cannot really celebrate all together, carrying the scroll and opening the scroll the way we usually do in our sanctuary so we can see all the long sections of Torah. So we'll do that virtually and symbolically. As you know, Torah has 5 books: Bereshit, Genesis, Exodus, Shemot, Vayikra, Leviticus, Bamidbar, Numbers, Devarim, Deuteronomy. So we're going to have 5 different people here from Bet Shalom, each one reading a few verses from each one of those 5 books. And we'll begin with the very beginning, literally, Bereshit, in the beginning with the first words of Torah by Lisa Sharp.
Amen. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'haaretz hayata tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tachon v'ruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim. Vayomer Elohim yehi or, vayehi or. Vayar Elohim et haor ki tov. Vayavdel Elohim ben haor uven hachoshech. Vayikra Elohim la'or yom v'lachoshech kara laila vayhi erev vayhi voker yom echad.
So this was day 1. And day 1, a beautiful thing that we read from Torah, and God saw. And even though at the very beginning, and it was good, Vayar Kitov. And it's also a good day when you have a birthday. Lisa has a birthday. Thank you, Sharon, for reminding me. So, Lisa, happy birthday. Day 1. And we'll move on for the second book of Torah. And way after creation, now we start talking in the book of Shemot, Exodus, about the people of Israel, the children of Jacob, Israel, that will eventually become this people that gave us Torah and carries Torah. So this is Ken reading from Shemot.
Amen. Ve'ele Shemot B'nei Yisrael Habayim Mitzrayma Et Yaakov Ish Uveto Ba'u Reuven Shimon Levi Vihuda Yisachar Zevulun Uvin Yamin Dan v'Naftali Gad v'Asher Vayehi Kol nefesh, Yitzei Yerech Yaakov, Shivim nefesh, V'Yosef haya v'Mitzrayim.
And now we reach the third book of the Torah, which is, if you think of 5 books, is at the very center of Torah, and this is the book of Vayikra. And we read actually these words from the book of Vayikra, which are exactly in the middle of the whole Torah. We read them for Yom Kippur recently. We can and should strive to be holy. And as you can see, the summary of being holy for Torah means ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha. Love for your neighbor what you love for yourself. So Rebecca will lead us in the reading. Hopefully she can unmute, or Olive will help her unmute, and Rebecca will join us for the reading.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe לאמור, דבר אל כל עדת בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם קדושים תהיו, כי קדוש אני אדוני אלוהיכם. לא תעשו עוול במשפט, לא תשאל נגע, ולא תדע פני רעתו, בצדק תשפוט עמיתך.
Rebecca, and Shabbat Shalom to you. And for the fourth book, Torah moves to what it actually takes to carry values like this, and it takes going through a desert and going through a very hard journey, and hopefully from there even we get blessing. So this is the source of the people call the priestly blessing. This is a blessing given specifically in Torah for all of us. So I'll have the pleasure to chant this from the fourth book of Torah, Bamidbar. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל אהרון ואל בניו לאמור, כה תברכו את בני ישראל, אמור להם, יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום, ושמו את שמי על בני ישראל, ואני אברכם. And we reach the fifth and final book of Torah, the book of Deuteronomy. Book of Deuteronomy retells much of the story that the other book said, but also includes specific commandments and speeches from Moses. Most of them have to do with equality, social justice in Israel, prepare to get to the promised land. But of course, this is the end of the life of Moses, and we need to recognize people who do great things and are great teachers. In our tradition, Moses is not called Moses the prophet, it's called Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher. So these are the last 4 verses of Torah, and the last verses that speak of Moshe, of Moses, and we have Rabbi Mike, another of our teachers, to chant them.
Vilokam Navi Od V'Yisrael Kemoshe Asher Yidao Adonai Panim El Panim L'chol Ha'otod V'Hamoftim Asher Shalacho Adonai La'asot Be'eretz Mitzrayim לפרעה ולכל עבדיו ולכל ארצו, ולכל היד החזקה ולכל המורא הגדול, אשר עשה משה לעיני כל ישראל.
And join me singing Chazak, 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 Venitchazek. May we have the strength and renewed strength. And if you thought that there were 5 books of Torah and we already read from 5 books, so we are done, then you forgot the important thing. We start all over again. So here is Lisa, and as you will see, it's not the same verses that she chanted. It is the same, but it's the second time she reads it, and she let us know that she's doing it again. So let us join now as we begin a new cycle of Torah Bereshit.
Amen. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'haaretz hayata tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei techom v'ruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim. Vayomer Elohim yehi or, vayehi or. Vayar Elohim et haor ki tov. Vayavdel Elohim ben haor uven hachoshech. Vayikra Elohim la'or yom v'lachoshech kara laila vayhi erev vayhi voker yom echad.
So we read Torah from Bereshit to end and to begin again. So Chag Sameach, everyone, and let all of us enjoy, and hopefully we'll see each other here in person next time we do this and open the Torah scroll and share it, everyone here. Torah is our Etz Chaim, our tree of life. So we'll return this scroll of Torah to the Aron HaKodesh, and please rise and join me as we sing Etz Chaim. Etz Chaimi למחזיקים בה ותומכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם בכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו כקדם